Alright, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another edition of In Between Days. And Halloween is coming up, and apparently the head writer of Days of Our Lives just can't help himself. Yes, this may be the last review for a while. We'll see how it goes, because we've got your Days of Our Lives recap for the week coming up next, and wait until you get to the end of Friday if you haven't already. Well, we're going to talk about it here, and what the hell? Hang on. Alright, everyone, welcome to another edition of In Between Days, where we chat chowder about the hit soap Days of Our Lives. Halloween is almost on the way, and it appears that the head writer of Days of Our Lives just can't help himself. In fact, this might be my last review for quite a while. We'll see what happens. I've been watching the show for like decades, but there was a time or two actually, when I took a break, and one of them was during the devil possession, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I didn't boycott the show or do anything that rash, and it certainly wasn't for religious reasons. I just thought it was a very silly, over-the-top, campy storyline, so of course Ron would want to jump all over it and rehash it. Well, we're going to get into your Days of Our Lives review right now. You can tell me your thoughts. Do you like this upcoming storyline that's just around the corner, or do you feel the same way as myself and many people, it seems, who are chiming in online? If we have time, maybe we'll bring up some of those comments at the end of how people are reacting to things. One good thing I will say is, for a 96-year-old, yes, I believe Doug is 96, or the actor that plays Doug at least, he is doing an amazing job so far. But he only can work with the material that he's given, and that's where the problems come in. We're going to get to your Days of Our Lives review right now, so hang in there. Here we go. Monday, September the 13th, Julie and Doug turn to Kayla for help with what's going on with Doug and his recent memory issues. It seems like he may have something like Alzheimer's going on, and so they're doing some tests to try to figure out what's wrong with Doug. And of course, initially he does well and passes all his tests, which only makes it more confusing as to what's going on with him. But at the same time, Julie seems very relieved and starts to reconvince herself that nothing is really that wrong at all after all. Meanwhile, Johnny visits Marlena at the hospital where she works and goes into her office and asks her to invest in his new film project, which she says she will discuss with her husband, John, but also at the same time she gives him some advice that he might want to talk to Will, who has some experience with the film stuff, and in fact, Will wrote a script years ago that didn't go anywhere about his mother's life, which was a little bit strange then, but it's going to get a lot more strange as things move along, as Johnny is interested in developing and filming that script. He wants to make a film about Sammy Brady, his mother's life, and I'm sure that will just go down fantastic with everyone, or not. Xander and EJ get into a fight at Xander's place. EJ talks about the lima beans that he was force-fed in the warehouse when Xander was taking care of him, before kicking the crap out of Xander and leaving in victory. EJ still intends to send Xander back to jail for the crimes that he allegedly committed, i.e. drug trafficking for Dr. Snyder, but as we all know, he didn't even do that, and maybe down the road Jack will help him out of the whole mess. Jack and Gwen, once Jack gets to the truth, but I don't think that Jack is going to receive the truth from Gwen, but we will get to that in just a little bit. Meanwhile, on Monday still, Chad tries to convince Abigail to come home to Salem with him. On Tuesday, we have Philip and Ava sharing their couple troubles. And Gabby and Jake continue to work over Brady and convince him that they're trying to create some turbulence between Brady and Philip and work both sides, and it's definitely working. Brady is suspicious finally of them, but ultimately he falls for it anyhow. And Steve, meanwhile, tells Justin to go and hear Bonnie out after what happened last week with everything imploding, and of course there being no wedding because they found out that Bonnie had allegedly killed her sister-in-law Callista Lockhart upstairs, so we'll find out the fallout from that. Bonnie is in trouble based on all the evidence that Rafe has collected, and Rafe does, however, offer to hear her out and hear her story and side of things, and he begins to question her. And the next day, on Wednesday, Bonnie tells Justin her side of the story as he comes in and wants to represent her as her lawyer and attorney, and he hears her side out and is very sympathetic to what actually happened, which is a very long, convoluted story that we won't get too into, but apparently there was $1 million lottery ticket that Callista and her husband Harrison had. They wanted to use Bonnie to cash in the $1 million ticket, but things went very wrong, and one thing led to another. Her sister-in-law's husband had made the moves on her, and she had to shoot him, which killed him. She shot him in self-defense, and it all went haywire from there. The $1 million was never able to be cashed, and Callista never came after her until she found out that Bonnie was marrying Rich, and that's why Callista came to Salem to try to cash in on Bonnie. And that's a hell of a story. On Wednesday, we're already on Wednesday, so also on Wednesday, Ben and Sierra visit Oak Alley, and that's somewhere that Bo and Hope had gone in the past. And the tour guide, just very briefly, this is like a one-day story, tells them about some of the uglier history about Oak Alley and how slaves were involved in its history. And although I did think that was a good thing to show, I thought it was kind of random and glazed right over, so I'm not sure why they chose to put that there. I'm not saying I'm unsure as to why they chose to bring up the topic in the first place. I do like when Days brings up real topics and kind of, puts them out there. But alright, we had a little bit of a technical glitch right there, but we are back, and so the Oak Alley thing happened, and it's just, I thought it was a little bit strange placement, but if they want to talk about real issues, I don't have a problem with that. It's just a little bit strange also on a show that has people coming back from the dead and all that stuff. It is a little bit strange when they get into the real serious stuff, especially when they're really going in the other direction overall. And when we get to the end of Friday, you'll understand exactly what I mean. So where are we on Wednesday? Philip accuses Jake and Gabby of plotting with Brady, and Rafe has a chat about Nicole because he doesn't want to avoid her long term all the time, and in Salem that's kind of hard to do, so of course they have that arrangement where they're going to try to avoid each other so that Rafe can concentrate on his relationship with Ava, and everybody was all on board with that, but apparently Rafe is not too into that idea after all. On Thursday, September the 16th, Paulina confides in Marlena, so now Paulina goes to Marlena's office and seeks some advice, and of course Marlena reminds her that anything she says, anything she tells her as a patient is in confidence, and Paulina confesses to Marlena that Lonnie is in fact her daughter, and she tells her the whole story behind it and how she cannot tell Abe or anyone else, of course, and Marlena seems to encourage her at first to perhaps tell them the truth, but Paulina believes that would and probably rightfully so, Paulina believes that would mess everything up between her and Abe, and that neither of them, Abe or Lonnie, may never forgive her, and she is reassured by Marlena that Marlena can't say anything and won't say anything in confidence. But what if something drove Marlena to say things and do things later that she would never do under, if she was feeling and behaving normally? But what if something was just around the corner that would make her blurt out such things and cause a bunch of problems? So hold on to that thought that I just interjected there, and we'll move on for now to Thursday, September the 6th. Or no, we just started Thursday, September the 16th, so that's where Paulina has confided in Marlena, and of course Marlena, by law and by her ethical oath, would not confide things that were told to her by Paulina unless, of course, there was some mysterious force making her do otherwise. So hold that thought, and we will continue with Thursday, September the 16th. Johnny talks to Will. Will is shown on his computer, and they're having a little bit of a chit-chat about the script, and Will says he will send it over to Johnny so that he can go over it, and that's going to become important because Johnny doesn't know about certain things that are in that script that happened to his mother, apparently. Chanel and Allie celebrate the bakery. Apparently they made a huge profit on the first day at Sweet Bits Bakery, which is great, and so they're celebrating, and Trip sees them celebrating, and of course, that's just perpetuating this strange dynamic, the strange triangle going on with all of them, or maybe it's a square now that involves Johnny, her twin brother. We'll see. Kayla does some more testing on Doug because they're obviously seeing that something is not right with him, and it seems like he's having some memory issues, some Alzheimer's, some strange behavior. He grabbed Paulina's butt even though he's been married for decades to Julie, and they just don't know what's going on with him, so they're trying to get to the bottom of things. And on Friday, Kayla has those test results, but they really don't find anything to be wrong with Doug at all. Meanwhile, John and Marlena discuss Johnny's movie on Friday, including the fact that this is complicated, but after it was discovered that John was not actually Roman, Marlena and John, who had been together while Roman was thought to be dead, had an affair when Marlena went back to the original real Roman and tried to continue on their marriage after all those years. Obviously, as she had all these feelings for her original husband, Roman, and for the imposter Roman, John, so it was very complicated, and she did, of course, end up with John, but there was an affair that we talked about recently, actually, on this show, because I believe it happened on Night Sins, the primetime special Night Sins. So a bit of irony there, just because we've just finished up with Beyond Salem. But in a nutshell, there's things in Sammy's life that a lot of people don't want to revisit, especially John and Marlena. And John is concerned that it would upset Marlena, upset Roman, and just bring things up in the past that were not good. And Johnny, of course, wants to make this film about Sammy, and John is very concerned. Johnny and EJ clash again because of the fact that EJ is constantly making him EJ wants Johnny to work at Demira, and of course Stefano used to want Tony and EJ and all of his offspring to work in the family business. Now EJ is kind of taking that role, even though he didn't always want to be involved with Demira himself, which also goes for Chad, is on and off not wanting to have anything to do with Demira, but he always does seem to come back. Well, now Johnny, in the next generation of Demiras, he's more interested in his filmmaking, but EJ has very solid plans and is determined to bring Johnny into the fold and have him working for Demira, so we'll see how that all works out in the future. I don't think Johnny is going to come over to Demira too easily or happily. And Abigail has a request for Chad on Friday. she simply wants to sleep in separate beds for now and, go that way. Also on Friday at the very end, we see that Doug has... What's actually wrong with him is that he has seemingly been possessed by a demon, and we see the Michael Jackson Thriller video eyes on Doug. And I want to say that Doug has been doing an amazing job with his acting. When he acts like he's forgetting things, when he acts like he's confused and switching up names and can't remember certain people. But apparently on Friday it was revealed to us all that Doug is actually possessed perhaps by a demon, and he is after Marlena, who in the early to mid 90s, I think it was 1995, that Marlena was originally possessed by the devil. So all I can say is a lot of people were actually fans of that storyline back then, and I absolutely have no idea why, because I think it was the campiest, not good. It was just not a good storyline. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't watch the show during that time. I took a little break. I remember Joe Mascolo. I can't point you to the actual interview, but I watched an interview a long time ago with Joe Mascolo, who played Stefano DiMera for many years, obviously, on Days of Our Lives. And he said, he used to leave the show when it got a little bit too silly and too stupid. And I feel that at times I have done the same thing. In Beyond Salem, they mentioned another storyline between Greta and Austin when they were together and they had to go into the virtual Garden of Eden. That was another time I was just like, this is not Passions. I don't know if some of you remember the soap opera Passions that lasted for a few years around that same time, and they went way out. They had witches and supernatural and way over the top campy stuff. That's kind of not the Days of Our Lives that I want. I want some campy is okay, but I understand that, of course, we don't want just a bunch of love stories and who's sleeping with who, behind whose back, and who's related to who, and who has a long-lost sibling or a twin. All of that is getting a little bit stale and old, but there's plenty of room for adventures and things of that nature, as we saw on Beyond Salem. But I am not excited at all for this upcoming possession storyline. Because Doug so far is doing such a good job with the material, I am going to stick around for the ride at least one more week. But if this gets completely too ridiculously out of hand, I am going to sit on the sidelines for a little while, and I'm sorry, I don't want the show to go anywhere after so many decades. But I'm not sure that I can come for the ride this time. It's getting a little bit campy, so I am going to get out of here, and thanks for listening. But before I do, we're going to have a special chat about the fall preview video, but I don't feel anymore that this music behind me is going to be the right music for this show in the direction that it's going. So if you can just hang in there for 1 second, we're going to do something, and I think this is the direction that Days of Our Lives seems to be going in. I think this music that I'm gonna, or at least ambiance that I'm going to pull up, is going to do us better when we come back right after this couple seconds. We're going to talk about the fall preview video for the rest of September and October and into the rest of the fall. We're going to talk about what the short video that they have released has told us about what's coming up, so hang on. Alright, so you may hear something more like this in the future when we're reviewing Days of Our Lives, because it seems like they want to be kind of more like a campy horror movie, and so we're going to treat it as such. So in the fall preview, we see Kayla at first saying, what should we do this fall? And then we go to a cut of Roman and Kate in the pub, and Roman is basically telling Kate that he would be happy to romance her again, and he's trying to get back together with Kate. We have a cut of Chad and Abby, so perhaps they are on their way to becoming a happy couple again. We show Ben and Sierra. We see Ben and Sierra. We also see a quick cut to Sean and Belle as well, so lots of romance presumably in the air perhaps. We also see Trip and Allie much in the same way, as well as Johnny and Chanel, and even, the devil is out there, Philip and Chloe in a park, and Philip has got a giant present for Chloe. We then cut to Eli and Lonnie, as well as Abe and Paulina, and apparently Paulina and Abe are perhaps getting married, so we'll see if that wedding is actually a thing, and if it actually, happens, or if something interrupts the wedding in typical Days of Our Lives fashion. But at that wedding, I also noticed there's a cameo appearance again from Marla Gibb. Of course, Jack Harry and Marla Gibb together on 227, and now together again on Days of Our Lives. Philip punches Brady in the next clip, and Chloe gasps. We have a shot of Rafe kissing Nicole. Keep in mind, this entire video is about 2 minutes long at the most. Philip tells Gabby that Jake was a hitman in his past, which I thought was near common knowledge. We knew he did some mafia stuff. I guess we didn't necessarily know that he was going around killing people, but what did we think that Jake was? He was never some squeaky clean person, so I'm not really sure why that is so surprising, except I guess maybe specifically, his past is sort of understood, that he was involved in the mafias and with the Vitalis, so why is it so far-fetched that he would be a hitman? But anyways, happy Halloween, the devil is coming. Lucas and Eli, I keep saying EJ, but it's just the way my writing is fooling my eyes. Lucas and why would Lucas and EJ have a clash? I'm not sure. Might be interesting, but no, Lucas and EJ have a clash at the pub. They are arguing in this video. Xander is shown in a quick shot with his hand over Jack's mouth so that Jack can't talk, and I'm not sure what's going on there, but we're about to find out soon. Chanel is mad at Paulina for asking Lonnie to be her maid of honor, but of course we all have the insight that Paulina is another one of her real daughters, but of course that's not common knowledge, so I can completely see Chanel being upset and at not being chosen, so we'll have to see where all that goes. The devil. Nicole asks EJ if he's really asking her out on a date, and she seems to go with him after that, so a lot being covered here in this 2-minute video, almost as much as we covered in the weekly recap of the actual show. Ben and Sierra are planning to make a baby. We know they had that discussion last week. Well, apparently they have decided to go and do it and have their COVID baby like a lot of other people. How on cue was that scream? I didn't even plan that. As soon as I said it, and have their COVID baby, I heard a scream back there in the spooky cemetery, and I don't know, lots of COVID babies coming. Possessed Doug, yes, Possessed Doug we see in the video at the end, as well as a possessed Marlena, and we see Marlena levitating, which I guess back in 1994, the levitation grabbed a bunch of ratings. I know that they went really, I know that ratings-wise, it was not a failure, this past storyline, but in all other ways, this campy devil possession, I would have loved to see a campy devil possession for Halloween, but not from mid-September, probably through to the end of the year and beyond. Unless it has some sort of Christmas, happy ending. But I don't like where this is going. I can't even pretend. I can't even get on this video and be neutral. I really don't like where this possession storyline is going. I don't like the fact that we're revisiting it at all. And I forgot to mention in the main show this week, John pulls out his old priest collar, which he was never actually a priest, I thought they found out, and an old shoddy Bible, which just bringing that shot of the Bible in is going to piss off a lot of people for reasons that I don't understand, but it's going to get controversial because some people out there think the devil is real, Is Santa Claus real as well? I don't know. But whatever you believe, I'm just saying, for me, it's not for spiritual reasons that I don't like this storyline. It's not because I'm offended that they would bring the devil into the storyline. It's just a television show. It's just entertainment, and I completely understand that. So, maybe I will stand corrected, and this will be a much better version, or maybe it will actually be entertaining after all, and I will enjoy watching it. But I'm going to go on record right now saying I'm not looking forward to it, and it's not the direction that I wish that they were going in. I would rather it be a little bit less campy and a little bit more, not necessarily serious, but just more like the Days of Our Lives that I remember. And of course, also at the end of this video, a few more important things. Yes, we see possessed Doug and Marlena, but we also see Xander finds out that Sarah is on an island somewhere, which is exactly where I said she was, and I'm sure that Sammy may in fact be with her, trapped on that Demira island. See, that's the days that I remember. And Gwen gasps and is very probably concerned about that, because she's got this budding relationship now with Xander, but of course he was completely into Sarah until the fake Sarah rejected him and left. But in reality, Sarah has been trapped on this island, so apparently very soon Xander is going to find that out, and he's going to go and look for her and rescue her. And what does that mean for Xander and Gwen? And the final scene that we see in this very short video that we have discussed for a very long time is that Victor Kiriakis himself is back. And I look forward to seeing Victor. I believe that he's been away for a while. I don't want to speculate, I don't want to assume, but I think just a lot of characters that are a bit older and might not be doing too well at certain times have been kept away just based on the fact that, with COVID and everything, it may not be as safe for them to be out there. I know they don't have any of the kids on the set right now, so we haven't seen, for whatever reason, I won't speculate, we haven't seen Victor or Maggie in a very long time in any scenes, but John Aniston and Victor Kiriakis will be back very shortly, as revealed in the fall preview video. So there is some stuff in the fall preview video that I would say looks a little bit exciting, but I said off the front, I said in the middle, and I'll say at the end, I'm not really looking too forward to this possession storyline. What can I say? What can I say, ladies and gentlemen, that hasn't already been said? Happy Halloween, everybody. See you next time. Be sure to share and like and subscribe and do all that stuff. It helps the channel out. Let me know what you thought of Beyond Salem and Days of Our Lives this week, and what did you think about the 1994-ish possession storyline, and what do you think of them rehashing it yet again, and what does Doug have to do with it anyway? I'll see you next time.